dear brothers and sisters, as we are at the passing of the year 2022 to the beginning of the year 2023, there is a lot to reflect on. We know that at the beginning of the year, there was still a lot of trouble coming to many, many people all around the globe at the physical level. But as the year went by, things have improved and things have gone back to what they used to be a few years ago. So we're hoping that in the new year, things would be much, much better for each and every one of us. The new year brings a tremendous hope to us. And as we look at 2023, I want to wish everyone a very, very happy new year coming up, where you and your loved ones be all physically well, and you have gains in mental, emotional, and spiritual arenas also. As we look at 2023 and looking at the bondage that we've all had of being at our own homes, not being able to go outside, not being able to meet with our friends, that we come up with a slogan for 2023, which would be spiritually free in 2023. So when we talk about being spiritually free, we have to think about the bondage that we're in. In reality, we're not the body, we're not the mind, but we are soul. That soul which is encaged through the bondage which the body and the mind puts on it. Our soul resides in this human body, and our mind, through the senses, is dragging our attention, which is the outer expression of a soul, into the world outside, which is the world of Maya, which is the world of illusion. So we need to be able to keep our soul free. We need to be able to be spiritually free. We need to be able to be in a state where the bondage that the mind or our body is putting on our soul is removed. And the key to be spiritually free is to be able to meditate. See, when we meditate, then we are able to rise above physical body consciousness, and we're able to enter regions which are full of love, which are full of peace, which are full of joy. And so my prayer is that we all be able to be free of the bondage that we all have spiritually, which is keeping our attention in the world outside, which is keeping us from our goal, which is to be able to find the oneness with God. So in 2023, let us all be spiritually free. And as we are spiritually free, we'll find that the joys for which we've come to this world are a part of our day-to-day existence. The more we soar into the inner spiritual regions, just like a bird can soar out once it's out of the cage. So similarly, as our soul goes into the regions beyond, which are occurring concurrently within ourselves, then we'll be able to reach a state in which the happiness and joy would be there. Some of you who might have gone parasailing would understand the joy that you have when you can fly. And so as the soul soars into the regions beyond, the soul is happy, the soul is joyous, the soul is rising towards its goal, which is to meet the Maker. And so it's my prayer to God Almighty and to the three great spiritual masters of the past century, Hazur Baba Sawan Singh Ji Maharaj, Param Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj, and Dayal Purush Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, to help each and every one of us soar into the regions beyond, and with their help and guidance to be able to have our souls merge in God. So a very, very, very happy new year, and may you all be spiritually free in 2023. Dear brothers and sisters, it's the love of the great spiritual masters overhead, which we've all received sometime in our lives over the years, that draws us here. And as we start to think of life itself, and as we age, the struggles of life that we pass through as we are growing, they seem to kind of fade away as our understanding of life gets better. So we're all hoping that as we age, that our understanding and clarity of our purpose makes us lead a life which is more fulfilling. And so many of us who got touched through the love of these great spiritual masters, at a young age, we might have been initiated, and our understanding of the path might not have been clear because we got initiated because our parents or our grandparents wanted us to be initiated. Yeah. Or they brought us to satsang and they realized that us being on a spiritual path is going to be good in the long run. And then as life goes on, we go astray. We go in all kinds of directions of this physical world. And then with time, the realization starts to set in that there is something more to our existence than dealing with just the ups and downs of a daily life. As a young person, when we go from school to college, it's a very difficult time. It's a time of learning, it's a time of growth, it's a time of questioning everything. And as we start to question in our teenage years, before getting to college even, our parents, all kinds of interesting things start to happen. In our lives and the lives of our parents too. And then we get to college, and as we get to college, then we kind of away from home, we're more freer. We indulge in all kinds of activities that we think might be good for us. And then comes a time when we have graduated, we realize we need to work, we need to support ourselves. And as that process goes on for a few years, then we get to a stage where we run into someone that we think we want to get married to. And then marriage happens in our life, then we have kids, and then all other interesting things start to happen. And as we're raising our kids, our attention is trying to take the best care of the kids. And I think it's at that stage that some things start to change in our lives. When we feel responsible, and most parents feel responsible towards their kids, when responsibility falls on our shoulders, then we start to look at life from a different point of view. And it's then that we realize, hey, we need to help someone. Because we realize that children are very, very young, they need help. We have to hold their hands so they can walk properly. We need to teach them so that they can behave properly in whatever environments we live. We need to then try to teach them, whether it's ourselves or through others, whatever we feel would be good for them in their lives. Okay. We need to clothe them well. We need to, most parents need to, bathe their kids every day, put them to bed, and all the interesting, activities of being responsible for someone else starts to set in. I think it's at that stage that one starts to realize the importance of helping someone, taking care of someone. Now, why do parents take care of the kids? They think this is ours. This baby is mine. I need to do my very best to make my baby the best baby in the whole world. That's natural. All parents feel like that, right? So we care. And we find that at that stage of a life, most of the parent's life is devoted towards the child. Because they feel responsible for the child. And then as time goes on, the children get bigger, and then the whole cycle starts again. Whatever relationship we had with the parents start to happen between the kids and us, and the cycle keeps on going on and on and on. Okay. But as we go through these experiences, I think the clarity of our relationship with everyone else starts to change. Because whenever we feel responsible and whenever we feel that we need to care, selfless service starts to come into our being. All parents do everything for the kids, selflessly. And so to extend a helping hand to someone else becomes kind of more natural to us. And during that process, as we are going through that process, and as we look at how devoted we as ourselves are to our children, or our friends or our ages are to our children, then we start to have other feelings start to be generated in ourselves. And as life is going on, the realization of the miracle of having a child come into our family sets in, because many of us, as we grow up, we find that many of our friends, they might be friends from when we were very young for our neighborhood, they could be friends from our schools, they could be friends from college, they could be friends that we made as we were working, that there are some of them who don't have any children. Yeah. And as that sits in, then the miracle of having a child in our life and the joys that we find in our life through the presence of the child starts to set in. Or there could be times where couples could be trying to have a child for a few years and they don't have a child. And it's then that you start to think about who is providing that miracle. And we turn towards God. the Creator. And when we recognize miracles in our day-to-day life, which many of us recognize only when we have our own children, or we might adopt a child. When we have children in our life, and we see how a child, could be on a sofa and we think the child is going to fall away and something's going to happen, but it's saved. How many times during a day it looks like there's miracles after miracles which are happening with the children? Because the children, they are not fully aware of their own physical presence. Okay? So they might be running into something, parents saying, oh, let me stop, otherwise he or she is going to hit, let's say, the door or the wall or some other furniture that you have or something. And it's then that we start to recognize how many miracles are happening in our life. And it's when we start to realize how many miracles are happening in our life, then we start to think about who's providing these miracles. Okay? And it's through experience that we start to think about God. And Sant Rajinder Singh Maharaj has written a very, very beautiful verse about this. He says, "Nafas nafas mujhe lazim hai shukr ka sajda कि मेरे दोस्त का ऐसा है जिंदगी मेरी." So Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, who told us what our life is all about, who told us how we should be living, who showed us a path that we are supposed to live as we come into this world as a human being. He said, "Nafas nafas mujhe lazim hai shukr ka sajda कि मेरे दोस्त का ऐसा है जिंदगी मेरी." He says, in every breath I have gratitude for my best friend, and his best friend is God. And God is each and every one of our best friend. Because he says, this existence of mine is a gift of the Creator. And that's what we need to think of also. Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj saying that with every breath, like each breath, which means at each and every moment of my life, I have gratitude for God, for giving me this existence. And when we try to understand this verse, many things come out loud and clear. The first gift of God is that we have the human existence. There's just no doubt about that. Because it's only in the human existence that we have the faculties to truly recognize who we are. And so we find there are, at this time, about 8 billion people who are living in the world. But then how many of them are thinking about life itself? All of the 8 billion people are definitely focused in the world. We see with these outer eyes, we hear with our outer ears, we have the other faculties that we use to live in this world. And from morning to night, that's all we do. We're like straying, just like a stray dog. We run here, we run here, we run here. And what happens in the lives of most people? There are always some ups and downs that are coming. Some kind of difficulty comes in one manner or another. Could be physical, could be some relationships, could be some financial difficulties. There are some ups also where you think you are happy. Your country wins in the World Cup. You're happy. They lose, you say, boy, the coach should be kicked out. And we all, think like that, right? So there are some ups and some downs, You get to one level, you're happy, then you lose it, it's useless, and same thing happens with the school teams. If school teams are winning, we're very happy, and rah, 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 and all of a sudden, they lose a game, and no one's thinking about them, we go and do other things. So in our life, we're drawn into the world, either this thing or this thing or this thing. If you look at your life, that's what's happening all day too. So what has happened is, in this attention being in the activities of the world outside, we have forgotten the true gift that we have, and we have forgotten the giver. So Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj is telling us that with every breath, I have gratitude in my heart for God. But the gratitude is the first thing that we need to have to be able to experience the realities of our existence. We were talking about the 8 billion of people living, and most of them being focused on the world. Then something happens, whether a family member, whether a friend, whether we read a magazine, we find out about a spiritual path. And we go to some kind of a meeting, whether it's a satsang or a public talk, or something has drawn us there. Right? And we have a chance to be in the presence. And when we are there, many things happen when we come for the first time. When we come there with an open mind, and we come with being able to be in a state where we think we can get something, it is then that some kind of spark happens to us, and we come back again. It will be the first time, we come back a few times, somewhere along that line, and as we come there, we are always asked to sit in silence or meditate. And as that happens, somewhere along the line, we get some kind of an experience which is beyond what we experience through our physical senses. It is when we have an experience by ourselves. We live in a very scientific age, okay? And in this age, we are always told to believe only something that can be proved. And so what are the scientists doing? The scientists are doing experiments. And they're tabulating the experiment, they're looking at the results, and by looking at the results, they can say that the theory that they propose is correct or not. Okay? So when we ask to meditate, and when we look at the lives of the spiritual saints and mystics and spiritual masters, we find that they are asking us to also do an experiment. A true spiritual path is not talking about blind faith. A true spiritual path is talking about experimenting the hypothesis of us being connected to God, but experimented on ourselves. And so when we sit in silence, that's our experiment. And so when we have that connection made for the first time, our faith in our relationship with God strengthens. Now, when our faith in God strengthens, because we have experienced something beyond the physical, then we start to have that experience be run more and more and more. And the more times we run an experiment, the more data we collect. And the more data we collect gives us more clarity into the results of whatever we are experimenting with. And so, with time, as we start to follow the techniques which are given to us by the spiritual master of those times, that we're learning those techniques, and we follow them properly, and we do this experiment again and again and again. What happens is, as we start to experience the inner divine treasures, as we experience vistas of consciousness beyond the physical, it is then that our faith turns into devotion. Why? Because we are the ones who have experienced that. It's not like our parents told us something, or our grandparents told us something, or our friends told us something, or someone else told us something, or we read something. It's that we have had that experience ourselves. And this is why Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj would always say, seeing is above all. And when he talked about seeing, he's not talking about seeing with these outer eyes, he's talking about seeing with the inner eye. Here, the seat of the soul, the single eye, the third eye, the Shiv Netra, the Dasmadwar. That it's when we enter that stage, when we get to that stage, when we are pulled beyond the physical into the inner spiritual regions with help and guidance, that when we have that experience, is then that we totally get devoted. Is then that devotion goes to God, because we realize the presence of God in our own lives. And so it's that experience which we need to have, or it's that experience which we have periodically, which makes us then not only have faith in God, but also be truly devoted to God 24 hours a day. We can show our gratitude to God by meditating more, by experiencing God more, by helping everyone else more, by helping all, not only humanity, but all other living forms also. By realizing that this is God's creation, and the presence of God is in each and every one of us. And once we have true devotion to God, which only comes by having experiences of God again and again and again. And that comes as we meditate again and again and again. And once we ourselves are having those experiences, which truly are experiences of love. Because if God did not love us, we would not be here. If God did not have love for us, even when we are in the human presence, we will still be straying. And before that presence, God only knows what other existences our soul is straying in. And so it's the love of God which gave us this human birth. It's the love of God which makes us be in a state where we are able to learn the true techniques of meditation and sitting still and recognizing ourselves at the level of our soul. And it's God's grace that we are experiencing the connection with the divine light and sound of God, which brought all creation into being, which emanated from the Creator and brought all creation to being. So as we connect with that divine power, then we can soar back to the lap of God, which is the sole purpose for which we all have this physical human existence. So the key to life, and we think that as we age, our understanding is better and better and better, and as I was talking before, is when we have our own children, I think we start to recognize the miracles of life more than we do when we are by ourselves before that time. So as life goes on, as we understand the clarity of existence, it can happen at any time. It doesn't happen to be only after we have kids. It can happen at any stage of our lives. The earlier we turn our attention towards God, the more time we have to truly experience the realities of this existence and the realities of our connection with the Creator. And this is why Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj is saying that with every breath I am thankful to God, I am grateful to God. Because it's God's grace that I have this existence, and because of God's grace that I have this existence, and then because of me being on the spiritual path through the grace of my spiritual masters, that I have an opportunity to experience my relationship with the Creator. And so, as we all gather here today, if we keep that into our systems, if we ponder on it, we think about it, the key is the experiment. The key is meditation. The key is to have the experience ourselves. When we have it ourselves, we have it. No one has to tell us. We don't have to believe someone else. We know it happened. A lot of people say, I saw this happening, because we rely, we think whatever we see this outside eyes is real. We forget that all of this physical world is an illusion. We think it's real. So here we say, oh, I saw it, I heard it, that's real. Because those are senses we operate with. But when we rise above the physical body consciousness, it's only then that we start to unravel the layers which are covering our real self, our soul. And the more we do this experiment, more and more of the coverings start to be removed, so that we can get to this state where we are experiencing ourselves as soul. Before that, the lower three regions are all where the camouflage is so much we can't experience ourselves. But when we get there, because the layer is so thin, it's the first time we recognize we are soul, but that still is not the end of our journey. We still need to go beyond that and get to Sachkhand. So that everything which is surrounding our soul is removed, so that our soul has an opportunity to merge back in God. The process of recognizing ourselves as we truly are is called meditation. So let's meditate for a few minutes. Please sit as comfortably as you can. Close your eyes very gently, just like you close them when you go to sleep. Your eyeballs should be straight, focus 8 or 10 inches in front of you. And as you close your eyes, those of you who've been initiated in the mysteries of the beyond, please do your Simran. And those of you who are new here, please repeat any name of God that you feel comfortable with. This repetition of God's name should be done mentally and not out loud. Right in front of you, you start to experience light. Could be flashes of light, could be circles of light. Lights could be coming and going. These lights could be of various colors. Could be white, could be golden, could be red, blue, yellow, orange, or any other color. Please focus your attention in the middle of the experience. And with God's grace, many, many vistas will open up for you. I pray to God Almighty and to the three great spiritual masters of the past century, Hazur Baba Sawan Singh Ji Maharaj, Param Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj, and Dayal Purush Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, to help each and every one of us connect with the divine power within and to experience the divine light in its effulgence. We'll be sitting for a few minutes. I'll be getting you out of this meditative state, and my best wishes are with each and every one of you. Please leave off.